have been set apart for a movement that does not announce itself loudly. And the first thing you need to understand is that quiet does not mean empty. It often means something is being prepared with such care that noise would only disturb it. In the early morning, when the room is still and the light has not yet spread across the floor, a person can hear the smallest things: a fan turning, a distant truck, the soft weight of a thought that has waited all night. That is how this season feels over you. It is not barren, and it is not forgotten, and it is certainly not random. It is the kind of silence that gathers the pieces before a door opens. The one who loves you is not rushing the process just to satisfy your fear. He is leading you with a steadiness that your old life never understood. There are moments when you think nothing is happening, but the hidden work is often the most exact work. Even your hesitation has been seen, and even your tiredness has been counted without shame. What looks like delay may be the mercy that keeps you from entering the wrong place too early. So stay where you are for a moment, and let your spirit learn the difference between noise and guidance. A new place is already being prepared, and it will not demand that you pretend to be someone else. It will receive the real you, the one that has been surviving in plain sight, and that alone is a kind of miracle. You are not losing ground. You are being carried into a new room with a love that knows your name. There is a strange comfort in realizing that not every closed door is rejection. Some doors are simply waiting for the right hand, the right timing, and the right piece to open them. Think of the sound a key makes when it turns after long stillness, the soft click that tells you resistance has ended. That is how the next step may feel, not like a spectacle, but like a private release. You may have been standing in places that no longer fit, smiling through spaces that have already outgrown you. The chair was familiar, the hallway was familiar, the conversations were familiar, but your spirit kept leaning towards something beyond them. This is not rebellion. This is recognition. Attention, you need to prepare now. I put together an exclusive resource for those who feel set apart for something greater, but live surrounded by noise, distractions, and mental overload. This is a 30-day journey that will transform your life. A guided path to armor your mind and prepare for what's coming with daily practices of focus, boundaries, and discipline. Stop negotiating with the noise. Learn to spot distractions before they control you, and strengthen your mind. Also available in an immersive audio version. Over 10 Zuru readers have already transformed their lives through the 30-day journey. Thousands of people have already started this transformation. People like you who are tired of living in the fog. Ordinary people who decided to stop accepting mental chaos. Take advantage of this limited time offer only this month. Access your link just below in the pinned comment. The one who loves you knows when a room has become too small for what he placed inside you. He knows when the air has changed, when the old arrangement can no longer hold the life that is rising. Sometimes the body feels that truth before the mind admits it. The shoulders tense, the breath shortens, the heart becomes restless in a way that looks like confusion, but is actually a warning. A new place does not always arrive with applause. Sometimes it arrives with an ache that tells you you cannot live as you used to live. That ache is not there to punish you, it is there to prepare you. You are being moved, not abandoned, and the movement itself is part of the mercy. Even the path that feels hidden is becoming clearer with every faithful step. The love guiding you does not misplace its own. It leads with precision, and that precision is gentler than fear, even when it asks you to release what once felt permanent. You have noticed, perhaps, that the old labels do not fit the same way they used to. What other people called normal may now feel too tight, too loud, too shallow, or too crowded for the person you are becoming. That is not pride. That is transformation. A seed does not apologize for leaving the shell that protected it. It breaks because life inside it is stronger than the container. In the same way, you may feel pressure in places that once felt safe because something living in you is pushing toward space. There is a new room waiting, and it is not only physical, it is relational, emotional, and spiritual. The one who loves you can take you into a place where your nervous system stops bracing for impact. Imagine a table set in a home where the air is calm, the window is open, and no one is asking you to perform for your place there. Imagine setting down the weight you have carried for years and realizing that no one is mocking the size of it. That is part of what this move carries. It is a place where you do not have to shrink to be accepted. It is a place where your name is spoken with ease, not suspicion. It is a place where your tears are not seen as inconvenience. Your spirit knows this language even before your mind can explain it. That is why you keep feeling pulled forward without fully understanding why. The pull is not confusion, it is calling. And calling has a way of sounding like rest when it finally reaches the right heart. Stay with that feeling and do not rush to translate it into fear. It is being revealed, not destroyed. Sometimes the evidence of a new season appears first in what no longer satisfies you. A conversation that once felt enough now feels thin. A schedule that once seemed acceptable now feels misaligned. A room that once held your attention now feels like it is asking too much from your soul. That is how change begins in the interior before it ever becomes visible on the outside. You may be tempted to accuse yourself of being difficult, restless, or overly sensitive, but that would be a mistake. Sensitivity is not always weakness. Sometimes it is discernment that has become refined enough to feel what others ignore. In the quiet of an ordinary afternoon, while a kettle hums or a curtain moves with the wind, you may suddenly realize that you cannot keep agreeing with what drains you. That realization is not the end of something good. It is the opening of something truer. The one who loves you is not asking you to force yourself into another season's clothing. He's leading you toward a space where your inner life can breathe again. You may not have all the details, but you do have enough light for the next step, and the next step is often more sacred than the whole map. A new place is not always a dramatic relocation. Sometimes it is a new atmosphere, a new clarity, a new way of being held. It changes how you walk, how you speak, how you rest, and what you no longer tolerate. That change can feel lonely at first because it separates you from what was familiar. Yet loneliness is not the same as absence. Presence can be hidden in transition, and in this hiddenness, something faithful is forming around you with great tenderness. There are people who can remain in the same environment for years and never notice how much it has cost them. You are not built that way. You feel the pressure of misplaced places. You sense when an arrangement has become heavier than its purpose. And though that awareness has sometimes made you feel alone, it is actually part of your protection. The one who loves you gave you a spirit that refuses to settle for false peace. That refusal may have looked like trouble to other people, but in truth, it was preserving your future. In a small kitchen at the end of a long day, with dishes stacked in the sink and a light flickering above the counter, a person can suddenly know that the same walls cannot hold the same story forever. The body knows before the words arrive, the jaw tightens, the chest warms, the hands grow restless. Then the truth rises like a tide that cannot be held back. You are not meant to spend your life apologizing for the longing to move toward what is right for you. That longing is not rebellion against love. It is being guided by love. The new place is not about escape from responsibility. It is about alignment with what has been calling you deeper, cleaner, and more honestly than the old room could allow. Every time you resisted settling, You were preserving the possibility of this moment. Every time you felt the ache of mismatch, you were being taught to recognize your own threshold. And when the threshold appears, it is not a demand to panic. It is an invitation to trust the one who leads without losing you along the way. There is a kind of grief that comes with outgrowing what once protected you. You do not despise the old shelter, but you cannot pretend it is still enough. The roof was useful in the rain, the walls were useful in the cold, and the floor held you when you needed a place to stand. Yet even good coverings become limiting when the season changes. That is why your heart has felt the pressure of movement. It is not because something is wrong with you. It is because something is being made ready in you. The new place may arrive through a conversation, a decision, a door, a message, or a clear inward knowing that refuses to be silenced. Whatever the form, it will carry the signature of peace. Peace does not always arrive as a feeling first. Sometimes it arrives as clarity that settles the body before the emotions catch up. You will know it because the striving will loosen. You will breathe without rehearsing the worst outcome. Your shoulders will begin to remember what rest feels like, and if the path ahead seems quiet, that quiet will not be empty. It will be full of guidance. The one who loves you is not taking you away from safety. He is taking you into a different kind of safety, one that is built for your future rather than your survival. Do not mistake unfamiliarity for danger. Sometimes what is unfamiliar is simply what healing feels like before it becomes normal. You are being led into a place that can hold your true weight, your true voice, and your true timing. That is why the old place has become difficult to keep pretending in. The truth is stronger than the habit, and love is stronger than habit too. You may have spent a long time trying to make peace with things that never gave you peace in return. That effort was real, and it mattered, but it was never meant to be your permanent address. There comes a moment when the inner weariness becomes louder than the outer routine. The same hallway, the same message, the same obligation, the same unanswered ache begin to tell the same story in different ways. And the story they tell is simple. You are being invited elsewhere, not because you failed, but because you have matured beyond the language of the old surroundings. In a bedroom with an unmade bed and a suitcase waiting in the corner, the heart can feel both afraid and hopeful at once. That is a holy tension. Fear wants to freeze you at the threshold. Hope wants to move you through it. The one who loves you does not shame either feeling. He teaches you to let fear be present without giving it leadership. He also teaches you that hope is not a fantasy when it is anchored in his care. A new place with him will not erase your memory, but it will redeem it. The things that wounded you will not define the room you enter next. The things you lost will not be the only story your life tells. There is more, and the more is not vague. It is specific, prepared, and timed with wisdom that sees farther than you can. Let the old place teach you gratitude, but do not let it imprison your expectation. The door that matters most is not the one everyone can see. It is the one that opens when your spirit finally agrees to go where love is leading. The path forward may feel like a narrow corridor before it becomes a home. Corridors are uncomfortable because they strip away the illusion of control. You cannot linger there forever, and you cannot decorate them into permanence. You can only walk. That is why this season asks for trust in motion. The one who loves you is not demanding that you understand every step before you take it. He is asking you to let obedience become a kind of breath. In the hallway of change, even the sound of your own footsteps can become a reassurance that you are not stuck. Maybe you have already sensed that a certain place, role, or connection cannot remain unchanged. Maybe you have been carrying that awareness quietly, not because you are hiding, but because some truths are too tender to announce before they are ready. That tenderness matters. It means your heart has not hardened. It means you still notice when something sacred is trying to begin. The new place is not only about geography, it is about the arrangement of your inner world. It is about where your peace can stand without apology. It is about the kind of love that does not require you to split yourself into pieces just to be received. You are being prepared for a nearness that does not demand performance. You are being moved toward a place where the old survival habits can finally rest. And while that sounds simple, it is often the deepest miracle of all. The soul is at peace when it no longer has to fight for room. So walk the corridor without cursing it. It is leading you somewhere real. It is leading you with a hand that knows exactly how much you can carry and exactly what should be left behind. There are hours when the body itself becomes a witness. The stomach tightens before the mind names the reason. The eyes grow tired before the tears arrive. The hands lose interest in things that once seemed urgent. These are not meaningless reactions. They are signals that the inner life is no longer agreeing with the outer arrangement. You may have thought you were simply exhausted, but exhaustion can also be instruction. It can show you where you have been pouring yourself into a place that no longer returns life. The one who loves you sees that, and he does not interpret your fatigue as failure. He interprets it as evidence that your spirit is asking for a different environment. Imagine standing near an open window while rain taps softly against the glass and the scent of wet earth rises from the ground. There is a stillness in that moment that teaches the body how to remember itself. That kind of stillness is part of what is being prepared for you. It will not come from force, it will come from belonging. You may not recognize it at first because peace can feel unfamiliar after long tension. But if you remain honest, you will know when the strain lifts. You will know when the room no longer argues with your breathing. You will know when your heart stops scanning every corner for danger. This is the movement you have been sensing beneath the surface. It has not been imagined. It is being invited. And the invitation is not vague. It has a name, a direction, and a love behind it that does not fail. If even a small part of this has landed in you, if your chest has softened even once while hearing these words, write 888 in the comments. That number is not a charm. It is a simple sign of quiet confirmation, a way of saying you recognize the hand that has been leading you. Write 888 and then come back to me. Let the act of writing become a small agreement between what you have sensed and what you are ready to admit. There is something powerful in naming recognition before it disappears into routine again. The moment you write it, you make room for it to stay. That is not superstition. It is a way of honoring what your spirit has already understood. You do not need to explain everything yet. You only need to acknowledge that something true has touched you. And after you write it, return without hurry. Return with the same quiet breath you had before. Return because the path is still unfolding. Return because the next part is where the movement becomes clearer. The one who loves you does not lead you into half-light only to leave you there. He brings enough clarity for the next step and then another. And the next step is often where peace becomes personal, where the inward witness becomes more solid than the outside confusion. Stay close to that witness. It is guiding you better than panic ever could. The signs do not always arrive as thunder. More often they arrive as repetition, as timing, as an unexpected calm in the middle of what used to disturb you. You may see the same pattern in different places, and at first you might dismiss it. But repeated mercy is still mercy. Repeated clarity is still clarity. The one who loves you knows how to confirm a thing without making it theatrical. He can make your heart steady through ordinary details. A text arrives at the exact moment you needed relief. A conversation lands with unusual precision. A door you had stopped approaching suddenly seems less heavy. These are not random comforts, they are threads. Together they begin to show the shape of the new place. Sometimes the shape is emotional before it is practical. You sense more peace around a certain path, less tension around a certain decision, and more freedom when you imagine your future there. Do not ignore those small internal readings. They are often the first map. The old place may still be visible from where you stand, but visibility is not the same as belonging. You can see something clearly and still know it is no longer your dwelling. That knowledge is not cruelty. It is discernment, and discernment keeps you from confusing familiarity with assignment. You are being led by a love that is more precise than your fears, and that precision is becoming visible one moment at a time. There is a difference between being surrounded and being held. You can be in a crowded place and still feel unseen. You can be in a quiet place and still feel secure. The new place with the one who loves you carries that second kind of reality. It is not only about who is near you, it is about the atmosphere that receives you. Think of a lamp in a room that used to be dim. The lamp does not change the walls, but it changes what can be seen. In the same way, the love leading you into this new place changes how the whole space feels. What was once oppressive begins to loosen. What was once confusing begins to make room for clarity. What was once too heavy begins to reveal its edges. This is why you have been feeling both drawn and unsettled. Something in you already knows that you cannot stay forever in what has stopped reflecting your value. The new place is not a fantasy of escape. It is a practical mercy. It brings order where there was strain, and breath where there was pressure. You are not being moved into uncertainty without support. You are being moved into a kind of order that has been waiting for you to arrive. And once you arrive, the body notices, the spine straightens, the jaw loosens, the thoughts stop racing as if they are being chased. That change matters. It is a sign that the environment is beginning to agree with your soul. Keep going. The peace you are seeking is not far off. It is already learning your name. The fear of leaving often disguises itself as loyalty. It tells you that staying is noble, that enduring what is misaligned is proof of character, that giving up your discomfort is the same thing as being faithful. But faithfulness is not the same as self-erasure. The one who loves you does not ask you to remain in a place simply because it has become familiar. He asks you to follow what is alive. That distinction matters. It may be the difference between preserving a habit and preserving your calling. In a late evening room where the lamp is low and the air feels thick with unspoken thoughts, you may realize that your silence has been covering up a longing that will not go away. The longing is not wrong. It is directional. It points toward the place where you can breathe, grow, and stand without shrinking. If you have been calling that longing a problem, it is time to call it what it is: a sign. Signs are not there to entertain you. They are there to orient you, and orientation requires humility. It asks you to admit that not everything old deserves to remain. Some things are only meant to carry you for a season. Then they must be released, so your life can continue unfolding. The new place is waiting on the other side of that release, not because you earned it, but because you have been guided toward it with patient love. And patient love is never late. It knows when the heart is ready to recognize what the spirit has already accepted. The shift may happen in ways that look small from the outside, but feel enormous within. A different tone in your voice, a refusal to over-explain, a decision to stop apologizing for the shape of your peace. These small movements matter because they show that the old room no longer owns your inner compass. The one who loves you is teaching you how to move without panic. That is a gift, because panic makes every door seem locked and every delay seem final, but quiet trust sees more clearly. It can stand in a doorway and know that not all unseen things are absent. Some are simply approaching on a schedule you do not control. Picture a bag packed by the bed, not because you are fleeing, but because you are finally ready to go where you have been led. The sight of it can stir both anticipation and sadness. That is normal. Transition always carries both. You are leaving something known, and you are stepping towards something promised. The tension between those two can be felt in the muscles, the breath, and the sleep. Yet that tension does not mean you are making a mistake. It means you are alive to the seriousness of the moment. Let it be serious without making it fearful. The new place is not a rumor. It is a real movement of care. And when care moves, it does not abandon what it touches. It transforms the path beneath it so that even uncertainty becomes a road. Maybe the most difficult part has been not the change itself, but the waiting before the change becomes visible. Waiting can make a person question everything, especially when the old place is still present and the new place is not yet named. In that gap, the mind tends to invent worst-case stories, but the heart, if it stays humble, often knows better. It knows that slow does not mean stopped. It knows that hidden does not mean cancelled. It knows that the one who loves you is working with a timing that does not waste your pain. He is redeeming it. That redemption may begin in ordinary ways. You stop forcing a conversation. You stop reopening what has already closed. You stop chasing what never truly received you. These are not losses. They are recoveries. And as you recover, you begin to hear your own life more clearly. The quiet becomes readable. The room becomes less important than the presence within it. That is how spiritual maturity often looks. Not dramatic declarations, but a calmer spirit and a cleaner yes. The new place is shaped by that yes. It can hold a person who has learned to listen. It can hold a person who no longer confuses intensity with truth. It can hold a person who has been refined by waiting and is now ready to move without needing every detail in advance. Trust that this refining has meaning. Trust that your delay has not been wasted. Trust that the love leading you is already ahead of you. Some transitions are so gentle that you only notice them in hindsight. You look back and realize you no longer flinch at what once controlled you. You no longer return to what once drained you. You no longer call certain burdens normal. That is not a small change. It is the beginning of freedom. The one who loves you often works like this, slowly and with precision, so that transformation does not merely impress you, but actually lasts. In the middle of an ordinary day, while folding clothes or cleaning a counter or sitting in a parked car before going inside, you may feel a quiet certainty rise in you. I do not belong to that old pressure anymore. The statement may not be dramatic, but it will be decisive. That is how a new place often begins, first as an inner declaration and then as an outward path. You may still be in the same surroundings for a little while, but your agreement has already changed. And when agreement changes, destiny shifts too. The old place loses some of its authority over your mind. The new place begins to speak in advance through peace, through clarity, through desire purified by wisdom. Do not rush this process. Let it deepen. The roots have to move before the branches can. The love guiding you is patient enough for that. It does not require you to become brave all at once. It only asks you to keep responding to the light you already have. That is enough for today, and it will be enough for the next step as well. There is a sacredness in becoming difficult to misplace. When a person is anchored in truth, confusion loses some of its power. The old place may still call, may still echo, may still try to present itself as indispensable, but your spirit is learning to answer differently. You are not refusing goodness. You are refusing what cannot carry your fullness. That is a wise refusal. It comes with tears sometimes, because wisdom and grief often travel together. You cannot release an old shelter without noticing the shape it left in your memory. Yet memory is not meant to be a prison. It is meant to be a witness. It can remind you where you were, so you can recognize how far the love of God has brought you. In a room with a half-open suitcase and a window reflecting the last light of day, the heart may feel the weight of both endings and beginnings at once. That weight is part of the transition. Attention, you need to prepare now. I put together an exclusive resource for those who feel set apart for something greater, but live surrounded by noise, distractions, and mental overload. This is a 30-day journey that will transform your life. A guided path to armor your mind and prepare for what's coming with daily practices of focus, boundaries, and discipline. Stop negotiating with the noise. Learn to spot distractions before they control you, and strengthen your mind. Also available in an immersive audio version. Over 10 Zuru readers have already transformed their lives through the 30-day journey. Thousands of people have already started this transformation. People like you who are tired of living in the fog. Ordinary people who decided to stop accepting mental chaos. Take advantage of this limited time offer only this month. Access your link just below in the pinned comment.